Very much for joining today's stream, big community chatter. And well, in case you want to discuss any topic difference, please use either super chat feature on Rumble. And I'm streaming on both my channels, isn't it? On YouTube and Rumble simultaneously. So either use that super chat feature there on Rumble to highlight any topic, any question, or you can use PayPal and Boosty platforms for that. Links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And you can also use just capital letters, by the way, in your comment or the question. So I will understand that this particular comment directed to me to react on after the news segment. Okay, that's been said. Let's go for a news segment first. And I'm gonna start with work of information about work of air defense systems past night, and it was a massive attack on Russian Federation, probably one of the largest long-range attacks since this war broke up, since this war was provoked by Western ruling class. According to Defense Ministry's latest update, air defense forces intercepted 334 drones of formerly Kiev regime, in reality NATO member states or the Russian Federation past night. Drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk regions, over the Crimea, also over the Voronezh, Kaluga, Leningrad regions, Nizhny Novgorod, Oryol, Pskov, Ryazan, Smolensk, Tula regions, and in Moscow region. And I mentioned Leningrad region there, among others. And we have statement of a governor of the region, Alexander Drozdenko, who said that a massive attack was carried out against the Primorsk city of the region. Attack was repelled, according to a governor, although a number of other sources are reporting that as a result of these attacks past night, energy infrastructure was damaged, although oil spill was avoided, allegedly, right? And 60 drones, more than 60 drones, according to Governor Drozdenko, were intercepted over the region past night. And dear friends, whenever there is attacks on Leningrad region, it is obvious that these drones are launched from NATO territory. A massive NATO attack, directly NATO attack on the Russian Federation. On one of the sources this morning, I spotted information that Estonian Defense Ministry will acknowledge the presence of Ukrainian drones in airspace of Estonia. Russian media did not really, Russian MSM, let's say, did not really pay much attention to it, at least as of now. I guess because Moscow don't really want people to know that NATO member states directly from their territory are targeting Russian Federation. I don't know what's going on there. But remember a couple of weeks ago when there was also waves of attack on Leningrad region, Russian Defense Ministry come up with some list of countries, NATO member states, and also companies in those NATO states that are engaged in this attacks, long-range attacks on the Russian Federation. There was a strong warnings and statements from former President Medvedev, from former Defense Minister Shoigu. Both are high-ranking officials. One is Deputy Chairman of the Security Council, another is a Secretary of the Security Council. And to be honest, I was thinking that this time around, maybe Moscow is serious while issuing these strong warnings. And sad to say that I was mistaken. And therefore, I'm not going to take no statement from Russian leadership seriously, no more, at least under the current leadership, right? Because their statements don't really have any weight. In it, Russian Federation again was attacked from NATO territory directly. This is not just weapons being provided to the regime to strike Russia, but NATO territory was used for attack. And yes, no retaliation from Russian side, no nothing, right? If nothing is happening, this is beyond humiliation, obviously. This is beyond humiliation, and I have no freaking idea what the hell is going on in in the Kremlin, in the heads of Russian leaders. But yes, that's where we are. I don't even want to talk about it no more. That's the sad reality of the current days. We've been attacked directly by NATO, and yeah, no retaliation from Moscow, no response, no nothing. That's how it is. Truly sad, man, and extremely humiliating for Russian Federation. Extremely dangerous, I will say, also. But even other, really. If I was in charge, if I was Russian president, Estonia will be turned into radioactive desert. I will just give them 24 hours to evacuate, all of them, man. Entire freaking Estonia, 24 hours, evacuate, get the fuck out of there. And then I will transform Estonia into radioactive desert. But you see, not I'm a decision maker. And Putin has different takes. He's bombed by NATO countries, I guess, for some people in the leadership. I wonder what our constitution says about it. I mean, what Russian president should do. He is a guarant of the constitution, isn't it? And last time I checked, he is responsible for safety of the Russia and the Russian citizens and everything. And I don't know if he understands what's going on, really. Maybe, I mean, there were a lot of talks about decline of Trump. There were a lot of talk about decline of Biden before him. And I think it is time to talk about influence of the age on Russian president too, because clearly something is off. This is not normal, man, right? Of course, I'm exaggerating. Of course, I would not turn no Estonia, no nothing into radioactive desert. This is just anger is talking inside me, right? But something definitely has to be done, man. To ignore direct NATO attacks on Russia for so long, man, this is not normal. This is not normal, right? That's for sure. And unfortunately, because Western ruling class or Western elites, they have no reverse gear, they have no brake, they will only continue to escalate. And with current this restraint policy, if it's even a restraint policy, maybe they just don't give a fuck, man. Right? Honestly, man, I don't know at this point. I don't understand anything. But let's call it a restraint policy. I mean, longer this policy continues, clearly we see it, isn't it? It just visually is visible that attacks on the Russian Federation are only escalating, right? And more people are dying. More and more civilian infrastructure is being targeted and destroyed, right? Damaged and destroyed. So when I say many months ago from now that continuation of this restraint policy is only inviting upon us more problems, more trouble, I was correct, right? This is factually accurate statement. This is not just my thought that is out of touch with reality. No, this is a real talk there. But anyways, at this point, as I said, man, it does makes no more sense to talk about Russian leadership and their statements. They are living in their own separate bubble, right? They're completely out of touch with reality, it seems to me. And this is what it is, man. We should embrace ourselves for much bigger trouble that we have already seen. It's just logical, right? Also, it's not just the Leningrad region that was targeted. Many other regions, you can see almost practically entire European part of Russian Federation is targeted by NATO member states, literally on daily basis, including, of course, southern regions. And right now on your screen, you can see some screenshots of video that was published by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky when they attacked yet another tanker in Novorossiysk area. Novorossiysk is a Black Sea port, of course, and as of now, I did not see any reports about oil spill as a result of this attack on tanker, but who knows? Who knows? Information is suppressed, I can tell you, pretty much, and it is becoming more and more difficult to have a good understanding what the hell is going on, really. I'm trying my best to learn as much as possible, right, to understand what is happening. But it is becoming more and more difficult because if you are not there, you don't know. You are relying on reports of media and alternative, either MSM or alternative media or some accounts on internet. And if there is less and less reports, because for whatever reason, then you just simply don't know, right? And therefore, I cannot tell you if there was oil spill. On one of their sources on Telegram, I saw reports that two tankers were actually targeted, not just one. Could be case, I don't know. Russian MSM does not report about it, anything. Meanwhile, at least Russian MSM acknowledged that there was a massive attacks on Tuapse energy infrastructure, which was basically, significantly damaged, not to say completely destroyed. Probably it was not completely destroyed because, one might argue, you see something survived. So therefore, it's not complete destruction. Okay. But it was severely damaged there. And it was 4 waves of attack on this energy infrastructure. There was a fire on a sea terminal of this energy infrastructure. And we have report now that fire was extinguished. There, although emergency work continues. And cleaning operation is continuous because there was an oil spill into Tuapse River and also into Black Sea as a result of this attack. It was and still is ecological disaster, by the way, caused by this long-range drone attacks orchestrated by NATO member states, UK and US first and foremost. And also, I think you will find interesting that over the past 24 hours, more than 500 drones were intercepted by Russian air defenses. So nowadays, a number of drones that every 24 hours Russian militaries are intercepting is way above, usually way above 300. It's 3, 4, 500 and more. And because more and more NATO member states are directly engaged in the drone production for the Kyiv regime for these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation. I'm afraid at some point, maybe already in a couple of weeks, we will see 1,000 drones being launched in 24 hours to strike deep into Russian territory, and maybe even more. And I don't think there is any air defense systems in the world to keep up with such a volume of incoming aerial targets. Just saying, man. And the only way this can be influenced, the only way this can be stopped is if deterrent is Vastanolen, how should I say? Deterrent is restored, right? But looks like current Russian leadership don't see it necessary. I don't understand, man. I honestly don't understand what the hell is wrong with those people, man. Are there understand that with the current policy they are inviting more and more trouble on Russia, and more people are dying? And some might say, I saw a number of alternative media that, well, these drone attacks don't really cause much effect on Russian economy, and it's not a big deal. Really? It's not a big deal? Tell this to people that are dying. Tell this to people that are injured as a result of these drone attacks. Tell these to people that are losing their jobs because of so many civilian infrastructure. Businesses are destroyed, basically. And they have to, start from their clean sheet, right? Rebuilding their lives. These attacks are affecting tens of thousands of people, actually, on daily basis. Nothing to be said about rift that is happening in a society between significant portions of the society and the leadership of the country. Because I'm telling you, man, you go through Russian patriotic Telegram channels, people are angry, man. It's no longer frustration. In the comment sections, you will see that people are very angry. And I don't know, man. There will be some consequences, therefore. Unfortunately, there will be some negative consequences on a state level, right? Because of the softer approach of Moscow towards enemies of Russia. And yet again, I'm not quite sure. I can't even comment because it just makes no sense, really. So maybe Putin is just on the heavy decline due to some age stuff. After all, everybody is a human, right? And some people at 80 might feel energetic and very sharp, and some people at 73 might feel like they are losing it. It's always individual stuff, right? And I don't know. I'm not medical, obviously. I don't know what's up with Putin, but I would love to have answers, man. How long we gonna tolerate these crimes committed against Russian Federation? It's insane, man. And unfortunately, I cannot help but think that Western Fifth Column is so powerful. Western Fifth Column is so powerful here in Russia that they have a tremendous influence on the Kremlin and the Kremlin's decision making. And maybe it's a Western Fifth Column that is influencing Putin to maintain this restraint policy, because it harms Russia. This policy harms Russia, harms Russian citizens, kills Russian citizens, actually. Yeah, that's where we are. Share your opinion, dear friends, what you think about it, because I don't know what's up, man. I understand this is not normal. This is just not normal. President should not ignore. And one might say he is not ignoring, he is briefed and he knows what's up. I mean, really? Knowing what's up and taking some steps, it's a big difference. It's not enough to know something. You have to react to make sure that your country, your people are safe. And if you are unable to make difficult decisions, then step down, for God's sake. You don't have to die on that position. Step down, let the other people, let the young people who understands better, right? And who knows better, lead their country. What is the issue there? Anyways, it's sad, man. And as I said, man, it looks like Russia is being sabotaged from within by Western Fifth Column. That's how it looks to me. Anyways, meanwhile, NATO continues to prepare for direct open war with the Russian Federation, and we have reports that there are NATO exercises in Poland, and these exercises, whenever you hear NATO exercises in Poland and Baltic Chihuahua nations, Lithuania, for example, first what comes to mind, blockade of Kaliningrad. That's what they are preparing for, to blockade Kaliningrad region. And also there are in Finland exercises, military exercises right now, in which quite a number of NATO member states are participating. It's not just the Polish militaries or the Finnish militaries. No, it's dozens of NATO member states that send their militaries there, their assets, to participate in these exercises. And of course, they are preparing to harm Russia, to kill Russians, right? To destroy whatever they can destroy in Russia. That's what they are preparing for. And unfortunately, they are extremely emboldened. They are extremely emboldened because you see, even freaking Estonia is, it's not just Estonia, it's Finland, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, all of them, right? And orchestrated, these attacks are orchestrated by London and Washington, of course. But nevertheless, man, even this freaking Estonia is not afraid to provide its land and airspace for attacks on the Russian Federation. I mean, how embarrassing and humiliating is that, man? It's something extraordinary, man. Something extraordinary, and yeah, that's too bad, man. Also, we have reports that Germany has begun preparing its civilian infrastructure for a war. Oh, what a surprise, what a surprise. Major modernization of the carporter in Bremenhaven on the Baltic Sea is planned with 1.35 billion, with almost 1.5 billion euro being allocated for these purposes. Yes, I mean, they are preparing for a war, man. They are preparing for a war, and they will have more reasons or more facilities, actually, to divert from civilian production to military production, because according to reports, Trump intends to impose 25% tariffs on European cars, and of course in Europe, one of the biggest car manufacturers is Germany, And German companies already are not really in their best place ever. They are cutting staff. There are massive layoffs from all the companies, like right, and soon they will have reasons to lay off even more people, and they can transform car production facilities into drone production facilities. I mean, they can do it, man. If BMW can produce one of the best cars in the world, I mean, they definitely can produce drones too, right? And whatever other military equipment will be needed. So that's what is going on. There also something to keep in mind that there is open preparations on behalf of NATO countries for a war against Russia. They are not even hiding nothing, right? They are so confident that Russia will do nothing that they are not even hiding no more, man. They intends. And when it comes to this preparation of their NATO member states to isolate Kaliningrad region, well, they are training in practical terms too. And according to reports, there was a transit of the trains to Kaliningrad were stopped due to an accident in Lithuania. How convenient, how convenient accident. Yeah, of course. Transit train service to Kaliningrad has been suspended due to an accident in Lithuania's Kaunas region, where locomotive and 4 freight cars traveling from Germany derailed their Lithuanian railways reported. And you know, dear friends, you can organize this kind of derailments anytime you want, and then say that, you know what, Kaliningrad region is we are not blockading, we just have emergency here, right? So sorry, another 2 months you would not be able to send anything through ground to Kaliningrad. That's what it is, man. This is a psyop, right? This is special operation, obviously, and this filthy animals, among other NATO filth, are preparing full-scale blockade of Kaliningrad region. It is what it is, and they are not afraid. They are not afraid, by the way, which is insane, right? Which is freaking insane, man. That these freaking nobodies don't even afraid. I don't know, man. This is too freaking bad. Too freaking bad, man. I can tell you that. Yeah, okay. I don't want to talk too much about it. Fuck it, man. Also, reports are from Kyiv Independent, for example, that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have postponed the visit to Ukraine as they do not see progress in their negotiations. Okay, it's good. It's good that this creature is not going to come to Russia too, I guess, right? Because yet again, I think it is humiliating for Russia when Russian president is greeting these fucking nobodies, man. Witkoff and Kushner, these fucking nobodies being greeted by Russian president. When aide of Russian president went to US on numerous occasions, he was never greeted by US president. So why only if Russian president is wasting his time talking to these nobodies? What's up there? What's going on, really? Anyways, just to notice that there were some plans that Witkoff and Kushner will go to Kiev-controlled territory, then to Russian Federation, and they are postponing this stuff. Okay. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that Russian armed forces established control over the Miropol settlement in Sumy region. This is a big deal, I will argue. You know, dear friends, lately there were almost on daily basis reports that Russian militaries, despite their hands being tied behind their backs by Kremlin, they are managing to advance, managing to liberate more and more people, more and more settlements, and this is a miracle. I can tell you that, man. Russian security services, Russian militaries are pulling off miracles on daily basis, and I'm saying so because you know, by the way, Russia is a nuclear superpower, right? Russian militaries, Russian generals, for example, Russian colonels, until they become general, they have to go in a military academy, right? And I'm quite sure they are increasing their knowledge about military doctrines and strategies and everything based on all the capabilities that Russia can offer, right? Russian military industrial complex, Russian military, Russian arsenals, and so on. And there now, for 4+ years, Russian military, very same generals that being taught one way, are finding themselves in a situation when they've been told, you know what, you cannot use this, you cannot use that. I mean, this one, forget about it. That weapon is too extreme, also forget about it. But you have a task: do this, and this. Go ahead now. What? How insane is that? But that's the situation in which Russian military is being put as a result of political decision of their political leadership of the country that has no freaking idea what military operations are. And don't argue with me on that, right? Neither Putin, neither anybody in his inner circle knows anything about military, anything, right? They are no generals. They have no knowledge of that, right? And the best Russian generals being sidelined meanwhile. Best Russian generals that prove themselves on the battlefield, by the way, being sidelined. Where is Surovikin? In Africa? Where is the Surovikin, man? Why he is in Africa? There are many other generals, by the way, right? That what was fighting shoulder to shoulder to their military personnel. Those generals were not a freaking office generals as many others are, right? These are true generals, you know? And they all been sidelined, and yes, sir, people only left out there. Okay. Nevertheless, man, on the ground, Russian military, Russian fighters pulling the miracles every freaking day, man, and they're advancing. So this is a big deal, liberation of Mariupol in the Sumy region. Also, we have this report that Russian armed forces liberated Pokolyanoe in the Kharkov region. And earlier, you know, I reported about Korchakovka settlement was liberated also in the Sumy region, and Novoalexandrovka in the DPR, right? I can show you on the map location of these settlements. This is Mirapolia, by the way. This is a big settlement. This is I mean, you can see on your screen, isn't it? This is quite a big settlement. It's a big deal. It's located there, not far away from the border with the Russian Federation. So it's a significant progress, obviously. Also, Pakayana settlement in the Kharkov region, Volchansk direction, by the way. I predicted a long time ago that Russian troops will link buffer zones that they are creating in the northern part of Kharkov region, and process is underway on daily basis. We are receiving more and more information about progress in this area. And also, dear friends, let me show you. Well, Novodanilovka was liberated a few days ago. Also, Ilinovka on the northern and southern part of Konstantinovka, and this is Novoalexandrovka settlement that is liberated in previous 48 hours, something like that. In Kupiansk area, by the way, probably you notice, military channels probably report about it, that Russian troops have quite significant progress in Kupiansk area also, and now many people are a bit confused because according to locations of some operations that Russian militaries are conducting, Kupiansk city is like in the rear of those places, right? So maybe Kupiansk is in Kupiansk and surrounding areas are in operational encirclement. Mostly city is controlled by Russian troops, but still there are some areas in which Kiev regime has its presence for now, but not for long, man. Their situation is dire in Kupiansk area. Yesterday, I believe, yesterday I read their article about their situation in the Kharkov region, and their militaries of one of the formations executed their officer. Militaries, Kiev regime's, militaries of Kiev regime's formation that was left basically in the Kharkov region. It was a Kupiansk area, I believe. They were given suicidal order and they just executed their officer. That's the state of affairs in many ways in Kiev regime's armed forces, right? Also, well, let's continue with some other news. When it comes to Middle East, dear friends, Iran has handed over 14-point peace plan to the US. Many media outlets are reporting about it. It was a 10-point plan before, now it's a 14-point plan, and basically it's the same stuff. Tehran is demanding non-aggression guarantees from Washington, the withdrawal of American troops from adjacent regions, the lifting of the naval blockade, and the release of frozen Iranian assets, and also all sanctions to be released. That's several points from this 14, right? There's no way Washington can agree on any of it. First and foremost, because Western ruling class will not allow Trump to agree on that. Western ruling class, I mean, globalists and their neocons, right? And their Zionist allies that have Trump on a hook. So, yet again, just a diplomatic activity from Iranian side to demonstrate to the whole world that they are inclined to achieve some peaceful resolution, right? And that's about it. They know perfectly well that Washington will never agree on this, and we all know too. Also, Iran made it clear once again that countries that have waged a war against Iran will not be allowed to transit through the Strait of Hormuz until they pay compensations, and this includes, I guess, Gulf monarchies too, because obviously they provided their ground, their airspace for Israel and US to attack on Iran, and that means they've been complicit in this war. So they were part of war, right? And they have to pay compensations too. I understand this position of Iran, and I would understand if Iran will go exactly the opposite way, if they will reopen straight for everybody, literally everybody, right? Even if US maintains the blockade, because this way, a lot of energy, a lot of oil, and everything else will end up again on the global market. And as I said many times before, main point of this Middle Eastern chapter, main task of Middle Eastern chapter of their strategy that Western ruling class is implementing is to keep this region isolated from the rest of the world. First and foremost, energy of this region, right? To force China then to increase its dependence on the Russian Federation. And if Iran would say, you know what, we are no longer blockading, just they might demand a fee to pass, or they might even not do it. I mean, if yet again, man, if I was in charge here in Moscow, I would offer Iran agreement that, you know what, I will spoke to Chinese and I will say, let's give Iran $60 billion as a 100-year loan, let's say, not as a gift necessarily, but as a 100-year loan, and ask Iran to allow all the vessels to pass through Strait, all the vessels, right? Iran will get its money. Iran will find out ways to export to establish new export-import routes anyways, as long as the US maintains blockade. But what this decision will make is it will put Western ruling class in very difficult situation, because how they will justify then blocking, what they will do. They will block vessels from Saudi Arabia. They will block vessels from Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, UAE, from everywhere. That will be politically clever move, right? Especially if you keep in mind that neither Moscow, neither Beijing can afford can afford Western ruling class to succeed in this Middle Eastern chapter, because it's extremely dangerous for both, for Russia and China, and for the rest of the humanity, I will argue. But but we are where we are, and Iran is saying that countries that participate in aggression are going to be cut off from the region until they will pay compensations. So it's okay. It's their right, by the way. I understand this position for sure. They've been attacked for no reason, and they have every right to demand their compensations, 100%. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, you know, this trickery that Trump's administration come up with, they send a letter to Congress claiming that military operation against Iran is finished, right? And this trickery allows them to launch another military operation, basically, for another 60 days without asking Congress for war authorities and their permission, right, to wage this war. It's a trickery. We all understand this. Everyone understands this. Nothing extraordinary. Although, how one can claim, either Trump or whomever, how one from Trump's administration claim that they finished the military operation when they still are imposing embargo. Embargo is an act of war, for God's sake, man. Embargo on its own is an act of war by any means, right? By any understanding. But we are talking about US, by the way, you know, entity that is completely fake. As Western world is fake to its core, right? It's completely fake, by the way. US is no any different. It's a fake political class, fake elites, fake everything, right? And even so-called principles and everything else that they claim to have, even that is a fake. Because if you conduct some social study in US or any other Western country, they will pretend, these ordinary people, they will pretend that they have a morality, they have a dignity, they are good human beings and stuff. Their countries are engaged in a freaking genocide, right? Their countries are destroying lives of tens of millions of people. And there are somehow, I don't see mass protests, either in US, either in Europe. It's like life is normal, man. As long as they can eat this fucking burger for a couple of bucks, they don't give a fuck, man. How many millions of people are suffering because of their criminal actions of their country. So it's completely fake, man. And I truly struggle to understand why would anybody in this fucking world will think that Western world should be taken as an example. Example of what? How to be disgusting? How to be disgrace of the humanity? What West is example of, really? And I'm talking about majority of people there too, by the way. Not just elites, but majority of people in the West are fucking garbage. Let's be clear on that. Fake motherfuckers, man. Fake. Totally fake, man. Right? They claim to be Christians. Since when genocide is okay for the Christians? Since when? And if you take a look at the US, by the way, I mean, those motherfuckers, man, they are all about genociding others, right? They're applauding Israel, right? They're publicly demanding every Christian to pay at least 10% of its income to support Israel to commit more genocides, right? To kill more innocent people. So it's a scam of humanity, man. Western world, they are Indo-Europeans mostly, right? I am Indo-European. They are Indo-European. They are scam of humanity, man, right? And the Indo-European race should be ashamed that those motherfuckers are part of the race. Freaking scumbags, majority, by the way, I'm talking about. Not everybody, obviously. They are good human beings too. And those good human beings probably are ashamed of their freaking countries and the societies. And they understand perfectly well how fucked up and fake that Western societies and Western countries are. Let's be real, man. And let's have a real talk. And one might ask, when US and Israel will resume war against Iran, and everybody's speculating and stuff, and they can launch like they are unable to launch and maintain high level of military pressure on Iran because of the lack of long-range weaponry, right? So on their own, US and Israel can't do it. But what they can do is to come up with limited military strikes. Couple of days, maybe week or two, then pause, then again in couple of months' time, week or two attacks. And that will keep region at least partially isolated from the rest of the world because instability will be there. And if one will ask, yeah, but when they might launch these attacks, theoretically speaking, at any time, but probably Washington will try to prolong this so-called ceasefire at least for another couple of weeks, because I believe on 14th, 15th of May, mid-May, by the way, there is a planned visit of Trump into China, isn't it? And maybe U.S. ruling class, American ruling class will say, you know what, we want to fool Chinese, right? We want to trick them into some yet another deception or deceptions, and it will make it easier to trick them if we are maintaining this freaking ceasefire for a couple of weeks. I mean, we can do this, right? And once this meeting will take place, if we manage to trick them into something good, if not, I mean, we can resume bombing Iran anytime we want after that, right? Either ways, you know, week or two don't make massive change, and that's, I guess, calculus among American ruling class. So I think this limited, as I call it, limited strikes on Iran probably will resume after Trump's visit to China. Although you never know, man. These freaking psychopaths are capable of anything. And in China already, U.S. transport planes being spotted, right? And those transport planes probably were delivering some security equipment to organize Trump's visit, probably vehicles and rest, right? Personnel. I don't know Trump's personal security. It's probably a couple of hundred people. Not bodyguards, but overall security of the U.S. president is probably a couple of hundred people. So this visit has to be organized, a lot of equipment, a lot of everything has to be bring in, and the process is on the way. So probably this visit this time around, visit would not be postponed. And to make sure that this visit not going to be total failure, Trump probably will, not Trump, who the fuck is Trump, man? This fucking nobody. American ruling class probably will order their beaches, Trump, Hexet, and the rest of the garbage to maintain this freaking so-called ceasefire. After mid-May, probably they will go on with their bombing again. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, reports that China has banned their enforcement of U.S. sanctions against 5 Chinese companies. Interesting. So Chinese Ministry of Commerce has issued a decree prohibiting recognition of the restrictions imposed by Washington on 5 Chinese oil companies. And this is interesting. China is standing up to U.S. and well, if any company in this world will try to impose or act based on U.S. sanctions, those companies will be sanctioned by China, I guess, and maybe countries too even. So it is interesting. It is interesting to see where this whole situation will go. This week, by the way, United States twice expanded the sanctions against Iran. Among other things, it includes Chinese entities, including Hengli Petrochemical, for allegedly participating in Iranian oil trade. Their company itself denied such activity. But anyways, Chinese are saying, okay, bring it on, man. You want to sanction my companies? Any company from anywhere in this world will obey your freaking criminal orders. I'm gonna take care of them, right? I'm gonna restrict them to ever enter Chinese market, and that will be terrifying for many companies because everybody loves to be on the Chinese market. It's extremely lucrative market, right? So at some point, China gonna strike back, man, on US, and they're economically, financially, and it's gonna be big, man. It's gonna be massive, right? This overconfidence of US ruling class, overconfidence of Western ruling class will play tricky games with them eventually. Quite sure about it. It is unfortunate that, we are not retaliating on the Western countries for all the crimes they committed against Russian people and the Russian Federation. But well, maybe things will change. I don't know, man. I don't know. But meanwhile, after mid-May, we should expect also escalation between US and Cuba. President of Cuba already made statement that country is under the risk that it was never before. I mean, that's quite a strong statement. And I think between mid-May and their midterm election, US will try to recolonize Cuba. They're going to go for it because after the midterm, obviously, American ruling class will have to act a bit differently because, I mean, if they want to still be able to fool American people, right? After midterm, Trump is a lame duck, and American ruling class will have to act accordingly. And if they want some actions to be taken, then they will have no option but to remove Trump, right? And continue with certain policies with their J.D. Vance for the time being, and then whomever else, right? So from now and the midterms, probably US will go after Cuba. We will see. Meanwhile, Israel already killed almost 3,000 civilians in Lebanon, and more than 8,000 civilians were injured. A million people were forced out of their homes, and Israel is deploying in southern Lebanon, in territories that they are occupying, same tactics as they do in Gaza. They're literally annihilating everything, right? Homes, medical institutions, everything, even churches, by the way. They destroyed yesterday, I saw a video, they were destroying monastery in southern Lebanon. You know. So, and this is done because Western elites are in full support of it, right? In full support of it. Did you hear any sanctions being imposed on Israel from Western countries? Honestly, man, did you hear any sanctions being imposed or any restrictions on trade or anything to somehow enforce or force Tel Aviv to act more humanely, more adequately? No, you didn't hear nothing. And why is that? Because Western world is fake. Because Western world has no dignity, no decency, nothing like that. They love to talk about humanity and human rights and all that stuff, right? They are good at propaganda and PR. They are good at it, man. They are good at deception. They are good at lying to people, manipulating with people. But we all understand that all of them are freaking fake motherfuckers, man. Everybody in the Western elites is a disgusting creature, right? And majority of people in the Western world are fucking garbage, man. Majority, right? I'm not saying just a little bit here and there. No. Majority. As in Israel, majority is a fucking fascists. Majority in the Western world is a fucking scumbags. They are decent human beings here and there, little bit, maybe 5-10%. That's about it, man. My personal opinion, you might agree with me, you might not. But if you live, if so happen that you live in the Western world, then you know I'm right, man. You know I'm correct because you live there. You see those motherfuckers, right? How disgusting they are. on one day they talk about humanity, and on next day they are supporting Israel. Oh yeah, go and kill those innocents. So how they are good people, man? How that works? Fucking scumbags, man. Glad newspaper is reporting that Trump announced, another massive freaking deception of past several days. That's Trump announced the withdrawal of 5,000 troops from Germany, and there is a freaking hysteria. You should see media outlets. Probably you have seen these so-called media outlets in the West, what this means, and Trump preparing US to withdraw from NATO, and this is such a big deal, and Trump is punishing Germany. What the hell, man? US has like up to 40,000 troops in Germany, right? 36, 38,000 troops like that. And 3,500 approximately going to be withdrawn, relocated basically, maybe towards the Middle East. I don't know. And 1.5 thousand approximately will not be deployed into Germany. That's how this 5,000 number is being created, right? And so what about this another 30,000 plus US troops? It does not count. Is US is shutting down any military bases in Germany? No. So what's up, man? Why so much noise about it? It's literally nothing. It's just a freaking deception once again, man. And at some point, Western elites, they're gonna actually end up in a situation when they themselves would not be able to sort it out. Where is the freaking lie and where is the actual reality? They will confuse themselves too, because they constantly lie, man. They constantly create these false narratives after narratives after narratives, and it's insane, man, right? So it's not a big deal whatsoever, right? No reports about Ramstein being shut down, no reports about any other vital military base of US in Germany being shut down, nothing like that. Nothing. And I don't think US has any actual plans to do so. And one should keep in mind, man, Trump has no right to withdraw US from NATO. This is all freaking bullshit, man, and people are buying into this nonsense, man. I don't know how that is possible. Trump might say a lot of shit, right? But he has no right to withdraw US from the NATO. Senate has to vote. 2/3 of Senate has to vote for that. And you think Western ruling class wants to decimate this tool that they have and use there quite effectively against many countries on the name of NATO? Of course, they don't want to do nothing like that. This is all freaking games, man. All freaking games that is going on. That's all. So this topic does not really deserve as much attention as you see in the Western so-called media. RT is also reporting that Trump threatens more NATO members with troop withdrawal. Okay, Spain and Italy among them. Nonsense, by the way. I'm not even going to spend any more time on that. It's all nonsense. And one more news that I want to share with you in this new segment is that Indonesia plans to buy, as a result of recent agreements between Russia and Indonesia, they are planning to buy 100 million barrels of oil, fuel this year alone, and 150 million barrels are not that much really, right? But that's a beginning. And Indonesia is a massive market. It's a massive economy, by the way. It's 300 million plus people, right? So closer the economical cooperation will be between Russia and Indonesia, better, because it's an enormous potential, absolutely enormous potential there. So that's a good news, and I want to end this update news segment of it, at least on this positive news. And this is it. This is it for now, by the way. There was one super chatter during the stream. One super chat during the stream. Oh, another one. Two super chats. Okay. I will react on both super chats from Scooby. I will react on both, and I guess that's about it. Then maybe little bit of community chat. I don't know. So, Scooby, thank you very much for your super chat on Rumble. Scooby is commenting Gilbert Doctorow. This is quote from Gilbert Doctorow. In 5 years, Europe will be ready for an effective war with Russia. This is their time for Russia to finish it up. They have their capability, but do they have their will? Well, when it comes to 5 years, yes, in 5 years, Europe will be more prepared, obviously, for a war with Russia, open war with Russia than they are right now. But I think a real time frame when we will see direct clashes between number of NATO member states, militaries and Russian militaries, is end of 2026, first half of 2027. That's what I think. This proxy war that West is waging against Russia are not going to last more than, Kiev regime not going to survive more than another year, maybe year and a half. So therefore, globalists that are in charge of Europe, globalists will have no option but to provoke direct clashes between number of NATO member states and the Russian Federation before Kiev regime collapses, right? To maintain continuation of their war. And that's why for a long time now, Scooby, I'm saying that in my reading of the big picture, time frame when globalists might provoke these direct clashes is end of 2026, first half of 2027. There is no 5 years until that fight, man. It's gonna happen in next 12 to 18 month period of time. And you can see clearly, isn't it? You can clearly see that preparations for direct clashes is escalating. For example, this direct strikes on the Russian Federation from airspace, let's say, of the Baltic republics, Baltic NATO member states. This is what this is. Clear preparation, right? They are pushing, and unfortunately, these escalatory steps from NATO side will become more and more massive, right? That's why this restraint is harming us, is counterproductive. Because the longer we continue with restraint, more time NATO member states have to prepare, right? We should strike back on NATO countries like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But we did not. So that's what I'm saying. And when it comes to second part of their question, they have a capability, but do they have the will? This is the time for Russia to finish it up. They have the capability, but do they have a will? Well, I don't know, Scooby. I don't understand what's going on in the Kremlin. What plan they have, if any. I honestly don't understand what they want to achieve. One thing is what they are stating in their statements, right? They have made million statements already, but absence of follow-up steps in many cases makes it extremely difficult to understand what the hell is going on, really. And do they actually have a plan, or they just reacting? Because more often than not, it looks like we are reacting. We are not proactive, but are always reacting on something that happens. So therefore, that means that initiative in hands of our enemies. And it will stay this way until we become proactive, right? So I will disagree with Dr. Doctorow. He's a doctor, really, isn't it? Or professor. I will disagree with him that there is 5 years before Europe will be ready, or before some conflict might happen between European NATO member states and Russia. This confrontation between NATO and Russia will happen in the next 12 to 18 months. I'm 100% convinced in that. And when it comes to will of Russian leadership to do something, I don't know, man. I don't understand the policies of the Russian leadership. So I don't. I'm not sure they have any plans whatsoever. Really, maybe they had the plans, but if you are not following up these plans, probably they had the plans, and that's why some strong statements were made in past years. Right, these statements were in accordance with the plan, but after statement, some action was needed, and this action had to be green lighted by Putin. And if Putin is not green lighting actions, then what your plans are for? What good is having a plan if you are unable to implement this plan, right? So I don't know. It's confusing, man. It's confusing. Probably nobody in the Russian Federation actually understands what's going on. Probably not even in the Kremlin. I'm not sure Putin himself understands what his plans are. I mean, that's where we are, man. It's a mess. It's just freaking mess, man. Right? And this mess is possible because I think because of the fifth column of the West. It's a clearly sabotage from within. Russian Federation is being sabotaged by influencer forces from within. Forces that are very close, I will argue, very close to Russian president and their main decision makers in Russia. That's what I think. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat there. And there was another super chat. There was another super chatter. Once again, thank you, Scooby, for a second super chat and $2 donation. And comment says, there are many conspiracy theories about population decline. If the world actually is the midst of ecological overshoot, would the globalists be justified in reducing population? Scooby, this is all Western, yet another deception that there is some issue with the rising population of the planet. You know that all humans, all 8 billion or whatever the number is there, all 8 billion humans can be placed in Texas, in US state, Texas. You can give everybody housing, everything. All people can be placed in Texas. Our planet is big, man. It may not be as big as Jupiter, obviously, but our planet is not really that small, and there is a lot of places, a lot of resources, and all this talk about overpopulation of the planet is just a BS. It's a nonsense. It's something that was created in the West because you know what? It so happened that Europeans, I mean, so-called Europeans, and people in North America, they are the so-called white people. This concept of white people is a Western concept, isn't it? True. So white people are not making babies, right? This is a racist. This is demonstration of racist nature of the Western ruling class. Correct? There is no overpopulation. There is demographic crisis that a number of Indo-European nations are facing. The so-called white nations. And that's how they come up with this nonsensical idea that there is not enough resources, not enough food, not enough territory. What are you talking about? All humans can be placed in a freaking Texas, man. US throws away every day in US, more food is thrown away in a garbage that neither to feed the entire African continent for a week. And you're telling me that there is no resources to feed the humanity? Come on, man. This is narrative, yet another false narrative created by the Western elites, because they are racist. They are scumbags, right? And they actually are racists. They hate everybody, right? They hate their own countrymen too, but more than them, they hate all the other people that does not look exactly like them. And for them, by the way, I'm not white enough. Do you know that, isn't it? For those racist scumbags, I'm not white. I don't know you, Scooby, but they don't consider people like me to be white enough. The freaking scumbags, man, right? And unfortunately, this racist propaganda has deep roots in the West, because people are uneducated. They don't understand that these Europeans, Scandinavians, Brits, all of them, man, Spaniards, Italians, Germans, they all are Indo-Europeans. They are same as I am, right? And same as Iranians are, for example. They love to fight Middle Eastern countries, isn't it? Most of the Middle Easterners are Indo-Europeans too. Significant portion. But anyways, man. So globalists are not correct in anything. Globalists are existential threat for humanity, Scooby. They are existential threat for humanity. This concept of a golden billion is coming from whom? From them, right? From them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scooby. But no one should believe. No one should believe. I think that there is some overpopulation of the planet here, and there are scarce resources and stuff. No, it's not true. U.S. throws, in U.S. alone, more food is thrown in the garbage on a daily basis than the African continent consumes in a week. So what are we talking about? That's what I think. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat. And by the way, of course, this is Western concept. This white people, not white people. There is no such a race as white people. Never existed, will never exist. Yes, there is Indo-Europeans, right? Indo-Europeans, Mongoloids, and Negroids. That's it. 3 races on this planet. There was a super chat again. Okay. There was another super chat. Let me highlight this super chat too. This world is messed up, isn't it? I mean, people love to be in more comfortable position, and many people are avoiding to face the reality and to acknowledge how messed up this world is, really, right? And that is a psychological trap, really, because humanity gonna end up in a place when it will be just too late to do much about it, and that we are clearly on a trajectory towards the freaking hell, man. Because I mean, majority of humanity choose to ignore their reality one way or another. And thank you very much, Scooby, for another super chat, which says, and another $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, Reform UK polls are at 28, and none of their policy is good for the UK. Maybe Russia only needs to restore deterrence, fix the economy, and sit back and wait for them to implode. Well, that's I understand what you are saying. Uh, don't don't intervene when your enemy is making mistakes. That's the approach that you are talking about there, and I understand this approach, and why not? But problem is that Western ruling class they're not gonna stop, and to restore deterrent, some actions need to be taken. Not statements, because we have heard there are a lot of those statements. Some actual steps need to be taken, and I don't think Russian president will authorize necessary steps. You know, otherwise, why he waited for so long? I mean, it's 4+ years now, right? And we know from very beginning, basically, that NATO was directly involved in this proxy war against Russia. So why wait for so long? If now Putin will authorize certain retaliatory measures to be implemented so that deterrent is restored, there are going to be no retaliatory steps, probably. And that means West will continue and continue and continue, and eventually, I mean, these attacks will become more crazy, more scaled up. Already, look, Scooby, already NATO countries are using their territory to attack Russian Federation, right? And recently, there was reports that British Typhoons were intercepting drones, Russian drones over their Q control territory. So they are scaling up stuff, right? Cautiously, because, maybe they are sure that Putin will never authorize some retaliation from Russian side, but maybe some general somewhere will say, you know what, let's strike these motherfuckers now. Maybe they are not escalating tremendously straight away to make sure that they're not gonna provoke some unplanned processes here in Russia. But they will scale up little by little. They will scale up these attacks, and I don't know, man. Honestly, right now, I don't know where we're gonna end up. Really. It's bad, man. Situation is really bad. People are getting more upset, right? There is disconnect between leadership and people, certain groups of people, by the way. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people that are in support of Putin no matter what. They are cult, right? There are cults everywhere. There are many people in the US that will support Trump no matter what. They are cultists, right? And there are a lot of people here in Russia that will support Putin no matter what. If NATO will strike us with nukes and Putin will say, no, we are better than that, we're not going to use nukes, there will be a lot of people that will say, you see, we are so better than they are. What the hell, man? Millions of your people just being killed, and what are you talking about? And in case of nuclear attacks, obviously millions of people will be affected, right? Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm very disappointed, and confused, really. Confused. That's probably not even quite right word to fully explain what I think or how I feel right now, because yeah, man, I don't know. When you have no confidence in the leadership, that's it's not about your confidence in the leadership, by the way. It's when there is a gap between society and the leadership, this is always dangerous. And the gap, I think, is increasing and we might witness some uncontrolled processes that no one wants, man. Right? That could be extremely harmful, extremely dangerous. But yet again, it looks like Russia has no leadership whatsoever. We've been attacked by NATO day in, day out, right? And we are just pretending that nothing extraordinary is happening, right? Like life goes on. You see, if it's business as usual, this is not normal. This is just, everybody understands this is not normal, right? You might say it openly, as I do. Some people might keep it quiet, right? Because people are afraid, man. Many people probably afraid that they think they're going to end up in trouble. And yes, in some cases, this is true, man. I might end up in trouble. I understand that perfectly well. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to change now. I mean, I'm 50, right? I end up in trouble in Georgia for saying what I think and telling and being a good journalist. I was leading news agency at the time when Saakashvili launched that war, provoked the war, basically, reignite civil war first, and then provoke the war with Russia. So I'm not going to change. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to do what I think is right. But yeah, theoretically speaking, I might end up in freaking trouble. And it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up. It's bad, man. I don't really want to make these programs no more, honestly, because it's so fucked up situation, man. I want to be hopeful. I want to have, be more confident than that everything is good and they're under the control. But I have not that confidence, man, and that's bad. So I don't think we have a luxury. I don't know how to pronounce this word properly. To just lay back and just observe how our enemies are making mistakes. Unfortunately, our enemies are striking Russia and they're destroying livelihoods of thousands, killing people, and they're destroying livelihoods of even more people. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal, by the way. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and questions and the commentary. I'm scrolling now in the community chat, dear friends. If I spot some questions, I will react on it. My apologies that I am a bit, how should I say, pessimistic nowadays, right? I hate this. I hate this, man. But if I understand something, I will say that yes. I mean, I understand this is what is going on, and I'll try to explain it. But if I myself don't understand something, then it is difficult to explain anything, right? There was a. There was another super chat from Scooby also. Let me highlight the friends, and then I will continue scrolling chat if I see any questions there. Thank you very much, Scooby, once again for your super chat and $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, journalism is a dangerous profession nowadays. It was always dangerous, Scooby. Journalism was always a dangerous profession, nowadays too, and always. I mean, there is a joke among journalists that after miners, journalism is the most dangerous profession when it comes to unfortunately, number of killed journalists, right? Number of losses in the profession. Journalism is a dangerous profession, and unfortunately, this profession is dying. That's the most tragic, that journalism is dying. And right now, I don't think there is that many countries, if any, in this world where media outlet can actually operate on the principles of journalism without compromising. I honestly don't think that there is any country in this world where media outlets, big media outlets with many staff, with big staff, can actually operate without compromising on the principles of the journalism. And that's why journalists moved into alternative media. That's why many journalists from all over the world, by the way, I mean, some are big names, some are small names, or some are no names, like me, for example. But that's why many journalists moved into this alternative media, creating their own channels, their own programs, their own pages, because this is the only way you can serve the public. And that's what journalism is about. It's being in service of public, right? Thank you very much, Scooby, once again for your fourth super chat during this stream and their fourth $2 donation. Thank you. And let's continue scrolling. I see this question. As I said, dear friends, capital Qs or capital letters make it easier to spot while scrolling in chat. So Sashimi Kudor is commenting, how is Putin different from Saakashvili? Both started frozen wars and are Western assets. I will use this word there, because if I use that word, I might end up fined, by the way, for insulting government official or something. There is specific laws here in Russia, like elsewhere too, I guess. Will Putin end up like Saakashvili? Also, USA population admire Epstein. They dream of being a billionaire. Well, I don't know if Putin will end up like Saakashvili in the end, but what I think, honestly, is that history not going to be kind to him. I think history not going to be kind to him, and especially for past 4 years. During the during the peace times, I mean, that's a different story, but this past 4+ years also, time when he was a leader, right? And I guess overall, history not going to be kind to him. I'm quite sure about it, man. And we're going to learn a lot of stuff. Once Putin will no longer be in charge, we will learn a lot of stuff that many people might think now, but are afraid to say. And for good reasons, by the way. I mean, no one is a cat, right? And no one has 9 freaking lives. You know that say, isn't it, that cats have 9 lives and stuff like that. So no one has 9 lives, right? So, but yeah, history would not be kind to him. I'm quite sure about it. And when you're talking about U.S. population, I think Western societies are corrupt, mentally corrupt. It's not just U.S. society, but Western societies in general. Majority of people are corrupt there, mentally corrupt. And that's why they are allowing their country to behave in a way that they behave. And also it is true that admiration of their billionaires and their worshipping of gold and money and this material stuff is definitely indicator that Western society is sick, man, right? Big time sick, because you know, I don't know, man. You should prioritize some real stuff, right? That actually has a meaning. Family, friendship, or kindness, that kind of stuff. Not the freaking gold and money, right? And if for me success is and successful life is when you have a family, when you have a kids, when when you are trying as much as you can to be as useful for your family and your society as you possibly can. That's a happy life, man, right? That's what. That's why we should live, man. Not for freaking money. Money is, unfortunately, money is just a necessary tool to navigate this life. But money should not be anything more than that, right? Should not be priced as something extraordinary, and people should not be accounted as a successful based on how much money they have, because this is a false equivalent. It's not the same, man. You cannot judge people by their accounts, by their bank accounts. And unfortunately, in the Western world, psyche is so fucked up of the people, majority yet again, man. I'm not gonna play diplomacy and stuff, man. If majority of people in the Western world were good people, then their countries would not be this genocidal, right? And this criminal. So majority allows that to happen. So therefore, majority is scumbags. And there is a decent minority, and my respect to decent minorities, man, right? All over the Western world and all over the world, actually. But majority is freaking scumbags, man, and it's factual. It is what it is, man. This is true, isn't it? I mean, this is just freaking true, man. Anton is commenting. Levon criticizes Russia for ignoring attacks on it, but now suggests Iran should open the Strait and ignore attacks that killed their thousands of people. And I think US would not find another excuse to blockade. No, Anton, you misunderstood me. First and foremost, right now, Iran is not being attacked. We are talking about right now, isn't it? It's a so-called ceasefire. When Iran was targeted, Iran retaliated, and retaliated with such a force and scale that I think American militaries will spend a lot of time, right? A lot of time analyzing everything, and probably you have seen all the reports on CNN and all the other Western media outlets that are basically little by little acknowledging how successful Iranian retaliatory strikes were. And it was a massively successful attacks, by the way, right? What I'm talking about currently is a political step, right? If Iran is attacked, of course they have to attack back. I mean, 100%. But what I'm talking about, because Western ruling class wants to keep isolated this region, first and foremost, energy capabilities of this region, it would potentially make sense if Iran will, while it is this so-called ceasefire in place, to open the Strait of Hormuz for everybody, right? Even if it's blockaded. And that will basically kill the talking point of the West, right? That will illustrate the West, because they will have to come up with something to keep navigation distracted. They will have to do something, and that will further illustrate Western elites, because you see, even though for me and for you, maybe it's just too freaking obvious that Western ruling class is a scumbags and their existential threat for humanity, but many people don't see it like that. Many people are watching BBC and Fox News and CNN and I don't know, Deutsche Welle and garbage like that. Many people are reading New York Times and Washington Post or whatever, Politico. They have no freaking idea what's going on, really. And they think probably that Western elites are good people. They are all for peace. You see how they talk? Oh, we need the peace and we need this and that. Mostly, right? Trump is exception. Trump don't give a damn about a language that he used. But Iran, if Iran will, it cannot be done by Iran alone. What I said is that if Moscow and Beijing talk to each other and said, you know what, maximum what Iran can make is 50, 60 billion, right, a year, with the fees that they will demand from their vessels. Let's give Iran this 60 billion credit for 100 years and ask Tehran to open their navigation for everybody. And this way, Iran will make tremendous political points, right? Iran will prove that Western ruling class was lying all along, because they will have to come up with something anyways, right? To not just to keep blockade on Iran, but to keep navigation shut down in the Persian Gulf. Because if oil is coming out from Saudi Arabia freely, from UAE, from Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, oil and LNG, then Western ruling classes, their plan is effed up. Correct? That's what I meant. Maybe, but my English is just too freaking bad and I'm unable to explain what I think, but that's the thought process behind what I said, right? But it's not happening. It's not happening, so it does not matter. And I never said that Iran should not retaliate if it's attacked. No, man, Iran should retaliate with such a force and scale that to shock the Western ruling class once again. Of course they should, man. And we should retaliate too. I mean Russia, but Nitish Kumar is commenting, Levan, do you think Julani forces will directly in conflict with their Hezbollah? No, Turkey gonna keep them out of entering direct war with their Hezbollah. Of course, Israeli side will try to use whatever influence it has over their Damascus regime right now. But I mean, if Turkey's influence is bigger, and I think Turkish influence is bigger, then Turkey will keep Syria out of Lebanon. But if Turkish influence is not as serious as I think, for example, in that case, Turkey will have no option but to neutralize Julani and all the others, right? They will not allow Syria to be controlled by Israel. Ankara cannot allow Syria to be controlled and manipulated by Israel and used against anybody, really. Today it might be Lebanese Hezbollah. Tomorrow it might be Turkey itself. So Ankara cannot allow this to happen. So if Julani's regime is not if Julani's regime is being manipulated by Israel, then Turkey will take action, I think. But I mean, Julani is he's a Turk himself, isn't it? In the northern Syria, there is a significant Turkish population, people that consider themselves to be Turks, right? And one of the most brutal terrorist gangs there were Grey Wolves or something like that, Turkish terrorist organization. And I think Julani might have some links with those Grey Wolf. And there are many others, right? Also. this Turkish nationalist or extreme nationalist armed groups, terrorist groups, actually, I would say. And so, I mean, I don't think Israel will be able to manipulate with Giuliani on such a scale that they will now push him to start war against Hezbollah. Even though they don't like each other, understandably so. Hezbollah was fighting against Al-Qaeda forces, right, and ISIS forces that Giuliani represents, actually. But nevertheless, because Turkey has already been designated as the next target of Zionists, Ankara will, of course, deploy specific policies now in the region, and they will use Turkey they will use Syria as at least buffer zone, or maybe even spearhead against Israel, not against Hezbollah. But yet again, anything is possible. But Giuliani will authorize attacks on Hezbollah. I think Ankara will authorize his neutralization, and he will be eliminated shortly after. Also, Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, does Russia allow farmers to use their own seeds for farming, or else supplied from some company, both in food and their... Oh, it's your land. It's your land. You do whatever you want to do. You know, of course, you will... if you have seeds, then you use your seeds. But if you have your own seeds, then you will have to buy somewhere, right? But no one gonna force you to throw away your own seeds and then use seeds from some monopoly or something. No. You know, I never heard about anything else. I mean, I have relatives that have some land, and they do whatever they want to do on that land, right? No one is telling them anything. So if they have seeds, they use their own seeds. Quite often they have to buy seeds because they just don't have it. So, but it's up to you. It's up to you. And I never heard any farmer being forced to abandon their own seeds and use someone else's. I don't know. And there was another super chat, dear friends, from Scooby on Rumble. Scooby, thank you very much again for a 5th super chat today and $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, are dollar swaps to Gulf nations a bailout of U.S. corporate and financial interests more than bailout of the Gulf nations? Maybe you can link this, Scooby, because you know these Gulf monarchies, they are big investors in the U.S. economy, isn't it? They are massive investors there, and in order to make sure that Gulf monarchies are going to keep investments in American companies, they will have to bail out these Gulf monarchies, and by doing so, they ultimately are bailing out their own companies too in America, if that makes sense. It's linked, isn't it? Because if US will not provide Gulf monarchies with their cash flow now, what are they gonna do? They have trillions of investments, isn't it, all over the world, including in US. So they will have to go for a sellout, right? They will have to go for a withdrawal of their investments, and you don't want to lose these investors of that kind that are sitting on a freaking ocean of their oil, right? And so I think this bailout of UAE is definitely linked with with US companies attempt to secure those US companies, right? From which UAE otherwise would pull out investments. And same goes for any other Gulf monarchy. If they will ask, and probably they will ask for cash, US administration will be the same story, I think, because it's related, isn't it? They need cash. What they gonna do? Either they have to sell their freaking assets, or they have to receive money from somewhere, from US Treasury, and they will. And of course, American side, like in case of UAE, they added some demands, and UAE left OPEC, for example. Fatal mistake on behalf of Abu Dhabi, for sure, man. This UAE is destined to full-scale disintegration. Mark my word, by the way. Saudi Arabia will eat them alive. Not even Iran or anyone else. Saudi Arabia will eat them freaking alive, man. And if there is, I know there is some separatist movements in UAE, right? Not all Emirates are happy being a part of UAE, and so of course Riyadh will support now this separatist movements, disintegration of the UAE, right? So that country is finished. That quasi-state is definitely finished. And I have to agree with you that you link these two, and I'm on the same page. I think there is clearly link there. Thank you very much, Scooby, once again, for your super chat and their donation. I see John Ashley is commenting NATO no ability to organize. Well, I mean, we can argue that NATO is not as strong and powerful as Western propaganda was suggesting, at least some time ago. But it's still, we should not underestimate NATO, and we should not. One should never underestimate enemy. That is it. One should never underestimate her enemy, and should never overestimate itself. We should not overestimate our capabilities and never underestimate capabilities of NATO countries and globalists and all the regimes that they control, right? NATO is weak, not as powerful, for sure, not as powerful as one might think, but in some components, in some areas, they are very well capable to harm. And that's what needs to be addressed, right? I have said many times before, if it comes to direct war between NATO and Russia, if US is out of the war, Europe has no chance to defeat Russia. Impossible. Depend on what policies we are implementing now. In case of such an all-out even war between European NATO member states and Russia, European states will lose. There will be tremendous casualties, obviously tremendous level of destruction, but they will lose. They cannot defeat Russia. They just cannot. Impossible, right? But they can harm Russia also, big time. They will lose anyways, but they can harm Russia. And based on what kind of policies we are implementing now and in past years, this level of harm will be determined. But we're gonna beat the freaking crap out of European NATO member states, man, if it's come to a full-scale war, right, between us, even without nuclear weapons being deployed. And if US is out of occasion, let's say globalists provoke full-out war between European NATO member states and Russia, nukes Nukes not have to, we don't need nukes to be deployed. We can beat the crap out of European NATO member states like that with conventional weaponry. If US is engaged, then that's an extinction level event, because in that case nukes will be used, right? With Europeans, I don't see that many scenarios. If Europeans not going to use nukes, we will not use nukes either, because there will be no need in that, man. European armies are freaking joke. There is a specific areas that specific areas that they can use to harm Russia, right? And they are doing it right now too. But when it comes to war, man, you know, when it comes to war, we will eat them a freaking life, man. These European troops. And it's gonna be ugly stuff, man. Very scary stuff. Tragic stuff, obviously, because we should not fight. We should not fight, man. But tell these two globalists, they don't care. And if they provoke war, and they will, by the way, although I think it will not go, I'm saying in next 12 to 18 months, probably we will see direct confrontation between Russian and between NATO militaries and Russian militaries. Globalists will provoke that, but I never said that this war will go full out. No, it's gonna be more like some limited tit for tat. Like, it's not gonna be all out war. I don't think so. More like tit for tat, like skirmishes, exchange of strikes, something like that, and eventually globalist control regimes in Europe will have to back down. But if a conflict will actually transform into like bigger scale confrontation, in that case, Finland and Baltic states will cease to exist, at least. Many European countries will be shattered, but Finland and their Baltic states will cease to exist. If scale is bigger than some borderline skirmishes or their exchange of strikes. And people in Finland and Baltic states should think about it, because if it's come to confrontation, Russia will have no option, really. It's not that we want to do this, man. We don't actually, right? But if it comes to war, then if it comes to exchange of, if confrontation is will scaled up, let's say this way, then Russia will not really have much option but to take care of Finland and their Baltic Chihuahuas to make sure that they're not going to be able to blockade neither Kaliningrad, neither Leningrad regions. It's just that. Those countries, man, those people in those countries should think about the trajectory that their leadership is pushing them, but I don't know. It looks like they don't care, and they're okay. Interesting nickname here. Putin is commenting. It's in Russian, by the way. It's Russian alphabet there. EU leaders are corrupt criminals, 100%. 100%. Corrupt freaking criminals, 100%. Also, Smoky Sally is commenting, NATO is weak and spending money that they don't have. Yes, it is weak. I agree with that. There are specific areas from which they can harm us significantly, right? And that's why I'm saying we should not underestimate them. But when it comes to actual war, when it comes to pain tolerance, for example, and it is very important, pain tolerance of society. I think societies in former Soviet Union, maybe with the exception of Baltics, because Baltics were never really fully part of Soviet brotherhood or brotherhood of Soviet people. I think they never liked us, but rest of the Soviet Union, by the way, I mean, why I have sympathies to all the people of former Soviet Union, because I was born in Soviet Union, and from young ages I was told that we are brotherly nations, right? And yes, I mean, that was a great achievement of Soviet Union, that so many people were bring together under this idea of being brothers, right? And there was many more good stuff about Soviet Union, by the way. There's many things that can be criticized and many very good positive stuff. And so Soviet people, I think, have much higher pain tolerance than Europeans. And if globalists actually trigger war between European NATO member states and Russia, not some borderline skirmishes, but actual war, then I think, I mean, it's not even a discussion. There is nothing to even discuss there. European societies would not be able to pull this off. They would not be able to tolerate the pain in the same way we can. And it is, I mean, it's nothing good about having a high pain tolerance, by the way. That means that our life was tough as hell, man. And that's why we have high level of pain tolerance. Not because we are better or worse, but because our life was much more difficult than lives of European people. That's how it is. So yes, if it comes to full-scale war, I said, man, we will eat them at breakfast, these European armies, man. It's gonna get, but we should not underestimate them anyways. Watch woman on their wall is commenting, Levan, every time I hear your voice, I hear deep pain and I have empathy for you. All humanity is not evil, sending real love to you. Healing prayer for our Creator who loves us all. Never give up. Thank you very much for your kind words. And I never said nothing about all of humanity, really. But let's be real. Let's be real. If majority of society in the West were good people, Western countries probably would not be this evil. Am I correct? I mean, this is not really some quantum physics, right? If majority of people in the West were good, then their countries would not be this evil. Their elites would not be this evil. And because they are, that means majority of people in the West are not good people. It's just true. It might be painful true, it might be sad true, but it is true. It is what it is. But I never said nothing about all of humanity, man. Who am I to talk about all of humanity? When it comes to majority, I mean, when I say something about majority Israelis, there is a studies, by the way, right? Studies in which majority, some 70-80% of people are in support of everything that IDF did and the Israeli regime. So when I say they are freaking fascists, man, I actually mean that, because they are openly demonstrating this, right? They have no shame. And when it comes to Western countries, yet again, if majority was good people, then their countries would not be this evil, man. Just imagine how many millions of people being killed, displaced, as a result, just in past couple of decades, as a result of criminal actions of the Western countries. we are talking about tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people whose lives were destroyed by Western countries, right? I mean, how any society can tolerate being part of this evil force, man, that Western world has become, or it is. So, you know, true is not always pleasant. I mean, if you're living in Western countries, I can understand that you might don't like what you hear from me about majority, but nevertheless, I think this is true, man. I think this is true. Um, you know, and it is painful for sure, man, because um, I know we can do better, man, as a humans, right? I myself probably gonna go to hell because I'm not a as good human being as I would like to be. I'm trying though, right? But nevertheless, man, it's I know, I know that I can be better human being, and we all can be better humans, right? I have my regrets. I was never an angel. I made mistakes, uh, and I feel sorry for those mistakes every freaking day of my life. I don't kill nobody, by the way. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm talking about just life stuff. Uh, I was young and stupid, man, and I messed up a couple of times, but um, I do believe that we can be better humans, man. And when I see what Western ruling class does, and I mean, although Western societies are different partially, they are also quite similar. After all, we all are Christians, right? Majority of us, at least. And it seems like I cannot associate them with someone else's, right? I think those people also are part of our bigger community of, let's say, Christian world. And it is sad, man. It is sad that very big portion of our community in Christianity is this evil. It's sad, man, and it is what it is, man. I don't have hate for nobody, but it does not mean that I'm not gonna say unpleasant truth. Thank you very much for the kind words. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm 50 years old, or something. I'm not gonna say that I'm freaking tired of this life, but um, you know, as I said, man, to be a good human being, be useful to your family and your society. That's the reasons why should we be here in the first place. And as long as you have this right um, principle, you are good, man. You are good, I think. Right? It's not about what you personally think or don't think. It's about how good you are for your family and your society. That's what counts. And yeah. Bum, bum, bum. Nitish Kumar is commenting, no, you are wrong. Seeds are mostly supplied from a government or company, for example, wheat and rice. Those are harvests you get can't be used as a seeds. I don't know about rice, but my relatives, they use their own seeds, actually. I believe. Do they buy seeds? You see, I'm not a farmer. I'm trying to remember now, but I believe, for example, potato, right? I remember that they always had their when they harvest potato, there was always keeping certain volume of potato for next season. I clearly remember that. So it was theirs, right? It was their own. So they didn't buy it from nowhere and stuff. Although my relatives, they are not like massive farmers, but they are small. They have small land and they're doing their stuff there. Maybe in case of massive farms, right? When you have thousands of hectares, in that case, maybe you have to buy seeds from some company because you just may not have enough for your own, or maybe I don't know. You have to be farmer, by the way. I just remember that my relatives they always had their own potato as a seeds, right? Usually smaller ones, right? They keep those smaller ones separately, and they will reuse that for next season. But maybe in case of grain, it's a different story. In case of what is that? Rice is a different story. I don't even know if we cultivate rice here in Russia, but maybe we do somewhere. I don't know. But thank you for correcting me, Nidish. But yet again, I'm not farmer, so my knowledge based on only what I have seen with my own eyes. And my relatives are not big farmers, so they, in case of potatoes, for example, they use their own. Um, they were buying seeds, for example, for some greenery, some basilic and some that kind of stuff. I believe they were buying seeds. They were even cultivating tomato seeds, I believe, on their own. They were not even, maybe sometime they were buying tomato seeds, but maybe they were just cultivating on their own. But I mean, to know that matter, you have to be a farmer, of course, and I'm not. Unfortunately, man, I always love the idea of farming. I just never get the opportunity, right? So, but idea to have your own land and work on your own land, it's sounds crazy good, man. But you know. Another super chat from Scooby. Let me highlight, dear friends. Thank you very much, Scooby, for another super chat. Scooby is commenting, why is India forever seeking a subordinate position to other nations when it has potential to be something far more? Well, I don't think India is seeking to be subordinate, Scooby. India is just not as powerful for now as one might think. India is still facing tremendous issues, right? Economical, social. One might argue that this, I mean, to nowadays, India did not manage to overcome the pain and suffering that British Empire bring to this country. They did not recover, actually, and one should not forget that when British Empire went into India, this country was up to 30% of global GDP. Can you imagine that? 25 to 30% of global GDP was Indian economy. According to opinion of the experts, right, and their calculations that I have read and see about. When British Empire left, India was one of the poorest countries in this world and still is, despite their multi-billion. It's despite being in top 5 economies by PPP index. If you take a look at the population, it's the most populated country in the world. Poverty levels are still tremendous, right? Hundreds of millions of people are still in extremely difficult situation. And so India did not fully recover yet after what UK done to this country and to these people, right? And it might take another, I don't know, 40, 50 years before full recovery. And then when India will feel strong enough, they will take stands. But right now, what is the point to pretend to be something that you are not? India cannot pretend that it can withstand their. I mean, it's a superpower on the level of US or the China and stand its ground on the same level, because this would not be true, right? So they are not acting. They are saying that they are developing. They have red lines, and no one should mess around them. But other than that, they just want to have more time to further develop, right? So I would not say they are seeking for subordinate position. They are seeking for more time to actually recover from unbelievable harm that was done to Indian people by Brits. I'm telling you, when British Empire went in, India was 25 to 30% of global GDP. When British Empire left, India was not even, it was 2% of global GDP or something like that. They robbed it, man. They robbed India to the last, I don't know, man, to the last grain of rice. That's what they did to India. And so, understandably so, it will take a lot of time to recover from that. And I think by 2070, India will be a superpower that will stand on its own strongly enough, I think. But right now, they are trying, man. They are developing, rapidly developing, and good luck, man. It's a kind of miracle that India even survived, really, if you keep in mind what Brits did to this country and these people, including division of the people, which is absolutely intentional. Pakistan, Bangladesh, what the hell, man? These are one people that was intentionally, hostilities were intentionally generated by the Brits, right? And then division of their countries happened on sectarian lines, right? It was only intentional, rather. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your support and their super chat there. Also, Nidish is commenting, Levon, we would love co-developing arms with Japan. Yeah, I understand why. Would you like to develop? I mean, Nidish is from India, so therefore he's talking about India to develop weapons with Japan together. And I understand why would New Delhi want to cooperate with Japan, but it's if it's done in a safe manner, okay. If that will jeopardize relationships with China, it's counterproductive, right? And I think India should be very careful, man. It is very Indian leadership, they see what Western ruling class does, isn't it? How they use different nations against other nations, and they are focused now in your region. They are focused on China, and they would love to use everybody against China, right? And India should stay out of it. And if cooperation with either Philippines or the Japanese or whichever potentially threatens escalation with China, it does not worth it. I know that Japan can offer certain technologies, but it's all about pros and cons. I mean, does it worth it really? You know, South Korea can offer no any less assistance, and China does not really has that much of a hostility with South Korea. Japan is a bit different, man. Everybody hates Japan there. Koreans, Chinese, you know, Indians were part of British Empire at the time, right? Of World War II. And how many? 2 million Indians were mobilized, right? And were fighting in a war. Many people probably don't have no freaking idea that millions of Indians were fighting in the British Army um, in Africa and elsewhere. In Italy, by the way, for example, I believe there were Indian formations also in Italy. Am I correct? If I remember correctly, there were Indian formations in Italy too. Anyways, you know, I cannot be critical of India. I don't like the move. I don't think this is productive. But I see India as a strategical partner of the Russian Federation and the friend of Russian people. So therefore, if they think it's a good move, then good luck, man. But Japan, I don't know. Sashimi Kudo is commenting. Did you see Duran's Alex Mercury said there he thinks Rosneft made a deal with their U.S. oil companies to not strike to upset, so Russia can leave it undefended there. When did Ru let her corp decide national defense? I don't know about this deal. I maybe I missed that particular program of Alexander Mercouris. Um, I don't know what kind of deals were between Rosneft and U.S. oil companies, and what role Moscow and Washington play in that. And after all, I mean, I'm not sure if Moscow will. I don't know really. I mean, this Tuapse story happened just now, isn't it? How many times you did hear about Caspian Pipeline Consortium being attacked, which is actually Kazakhstani company with heavy American investments. Shell and Shell, I believe, right? ExxonMobil, Shell, they're big shareholders in Caspian Pipeline Consortium, and infrastructure of this consortium was attacked and will probably be attacked in the future too. I mean, very frequently. So presence of American investments in this business or that business does not secures it from attacks of the globalists, right? From attacks from the London, and London is orchestrating these attacks, right? And so therefore, even if there was any agreement between Rosneft and American energy companies, uh, why would Moscow seriously consider that Tuapse is secure when even Caspian Pipeline Consortium was targeted so many times? I don't know. I don't know really. So I don't know what to say. Sashimi Kudo. Nidish is also commenting, Levant to Scooby does not bowing down to China, pieces BRICS members of US not bowing down to West, pieces them. You both want us as subordinates, or two both sides want our civilization gone. You mean Russia wants Indian civilization to be gone? Come on, man. Are you serious? You don't really think that Russia wants Indian civilization to be gone, isn't it? I don't know about West, but what they want. West already demonstrated their attitude towards India. They almost completely destroyed the country and still struggles to recover after that. But why would you say Russia wants to Indian civilization to be gone, man? This is not. This is just not the case. And the fact that India will not bow down to China is actually good. Why do you think that will piss anybody off here in Russia? No. And you think why I'm saying since forever that Russia and India should maintain always as close ties politically, economically, militarily as possible, because just take a look at the map. Take a look at the map, man, and it's become clear why we should do this. It's additional insurance, just in case. Not necessarily against anyone, any other country, but just an insurance that, also Nadish is commenting, the 1 hour, two main adversaries are China and the USA, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Communists are just their proxies to destabilize internally and externally. I mean, I can understand that. I can see that. With China, I think you can resolve issues with China. It's possible. It's doable, right? When it comes to Pakistan and Bangladesh, if you resolve, I mean, it's so complex, isn't it? If you resolve a situation with China, that might help to resolve situation with the Pakistan and the Bangladesh, partially, not fully, obviously, partially. It's with Pakistan, it's bad blood. I don't know how long it will take to normalize the situation, even if peace remains in place. But of course, Western ruling class will always also try to use Pakistan as a deterrent against India, and China will try to do the same as long as there is tensions between China and India. So it's even though I'm not an expert in your region, even I can understand that it's extremely complex situation, and yeah, I mean, extremely dangerous too. After all, there was how many times you fought with Pakistan? Like 5 times already, 6 times in past since the independence. So you call them a communists. Communists are in China, isn't it? And communists are in Bangladesh too, and Pakistan. I don't know. And the Indian government during the Indira Gandhi was also quite close to this socialism, right? And India is still tries to find its balance, isn't it, between capitalism and the socialism. But during the Indira Gandhi, uh, ties improved between Soviet Union and India greatly, isn't it? I mean, she was basically charging this improvement of the relationship, and the industrialization of India is Rajiv Gandhi, then Indira Gandhi. Yeah, I know. Indira Gandhi played a key role, isn't it? I have to refresh my knowledge of recent history of India. But I think it was Indira Gandhi that was really charging this relationship with Moscow, and that resulted in a very rapid industrialization of India and very extensive military cooperation and all that stuff. Ah, okay, I understand. The one that was my answer to Scooby. USA and China don't want us exist as civilization. I'm not talking about Russia. I understand now. I just misread there. But that's why I was surprised. What are you talking about, man? If anything, we only have like warm feelings towards India historically, actually. So you know, sometimes every now and then, between any countries, political leadership, there can be some issues, some agreements or disagreements. It's all okay, really. Um, but strategically speaking, Russia and India are partners and should maintain as best relationships as possible for sake of each other's interests and for sake of humanity, I will argue, actually. And dear friends, let me check. Muschi, how long is this? Oh, it's 2.5 hours, man. It's 2.5 hours. Should Russia pay Wagner and other PMCs to do to the UK what it is doing to Russia with Ukraine? No, no. If we're gonna fight, we should fight openly. Uh, when it comes to Wagner PMC, if Wagner PMC is invited in some countries to assist her, that's their business. It's a private military company, right? Uh, I will never support involvement in some actually dodgy moves. UK committed so many numerous crimes against Russian Federation that Russia has every reason to retaliate anytime, right? And that is that. That is that. But I don't see how Wagner PMC can be used against UK. No, we have every reason to retaliate on UK for all the crimes they committed. on UK, on legit targets in UK. Let me say this way: on legit targets. Same goes for Germany. Same goes for Baltic Chihuahuas, Finland, France, Italy, Spain. You name it, right? All these NATO member states, there are war and still are directly engaged in the killing of the Russian citizens. So if we have to strike back, we should do it directly, right? We have every right to do so, and that is that. If there was an independence movement, for example, peaceful independence movement in Scotland, for example, I would support the idea to help these people, right, to gain independence. Same goes for Welsh, right? Same goes for Northern Ireland. Because supporting independence movement is a noble stuff, right? Soviet Union has a rich history of supporting independence movements in all over the Africa, for example, and they're not just there. So it's a good stuff. But I'm never going to support acting in the same way as Western elites act, man. They act as terrorists. I'm never going to support terrorism, right? We have every reason to strike back. We should strike back and do it openly, directly, and explain what we are doing and why we are doing it. That's my take, right? I'm not in support of some dodgy moves, man. No. Thank you for asking. And also, Nidish is commenting, Luan, does African Corps have drones in Mali? They do. They do, actually. There is some air wing present, Mi-8, Mi-24 planes, Su-24 frontline bombers, and also drones, attack drones, surveillance drones. I've seen some videos. I've seen some videos of drone coordinated attacks just recently on the border with I can't remember on the border with which country. There was a gathering of some 200 or 300 militants of one of their armed groups, and they were trying to enter Malian territory, cross the border and enter Malian territory. And the Russian drone were monitoring situation, and they orchestrated they were trying to enter Mali from Mauritania, by the way. I checked on the map now, from Mauritania area, and drone probably transferred coordinates to Russian Air Force there, and they carry out airstrikes, and this group on scale of battalion basically was maybe not completely destroyed, but they had some significant losses. So we do have a presence there of drone aviation, military aviation, but yet again, as it was with Syria, in this, if locals not gonna get organized, if locals not gonna fight their fight, then what Russian military should do, man. We can assist, but we can even fight if they are fighting. But to expect that only us will fight and that they will just chill there, no, not happening. It did not happen in Syria. When Syrian forces refused to fight, Russian military stopped and said, okay, man, it's your country, your territory. If you don't gonna fight, then we're not gonna risk too. And the same logic goes for any other country where Russian militaries are present. If locals will fight, Russia will support. If locals will choose not to fight, then it's their decision, their choice, and they have to live with the consequences then. Like in Syria, I mean, don't tell me Syrian people are much more happier now under the current regime of Damascus than during their secular regime of Assad. that was much more tolerant and much more friendly to any ethnic and civilian and sectarian groups than these jihadists ever gonna be that are in charge of Damascus now. But people decided not to fight in large, right? And they're facing consequences now. People and the army dispersed, right? Like it never existed, man. What was that? You know. So there was a super chat. I will react right now. Watcher woman on the wall is commenting, Leon, please describe any attack on Russia going on right now from NATO, and is this under their umbrella proxy Ukraine war? Just last night, 60 drones were intercepted over the Leningrad region, and these drones are flying into Russian Leningrad region from NATO territories. These drones are launched allegedly. There is only two options, right? Either those drones are launched from these NATO territories, from the ground, or drones are launched from western parts of Ukraine. They are crossing into Poland, then through Suwalki Gap in Lithuania, then Latvia, then Estonia, and either targeting Russian Federation, Leningrad region from Estonian airspace, or crossing the Finnish Gulf and entering Finnish airspace and targeting Leningrad region from the north, from Finnish side. Either way, allowing these drones either to be launched from their territory or to use their airspace for attacks on Russian Federation makes them complicit in these attacks by any norms, right? By any norms. And that's why during their waves of attack on Leningrad region a couple of weeks ago, Shoigu, former defense minister of Russian Federation and current secretary of the Security Council, said that remind basically of these NATO member states about this UN 51st chapter, which is about, it's 51st chapter, isn't it? Which is about self-defense, right of self-defense. And it was explained that providing airspace for attacks on Russia makes these countries complicit. Nothing to be said, providing ground for attacks. So that's a prime example of direct involvement of NATO. This is not just some proxy operation when from Kyiv controlled territory is done something. This is when NATO countries directly are involved, right? They are providing airspace for these attacks. They are facilitating attacks. That makes them complicit in attacks. That makes them party in the war. And that's why Shoigu mentioned UN 51st chapter, which is about self-defense, right of self-defense of the country. I was expecting that after such statements, we will retaliate, but we did not, you see. We did not retaliate at the time, and it only passed like 2 weeks since then. And today, I mean, past night alone, 60 plus drones were intercepted. God knows how many drones actually managed to strike their Leningrad region, right? And those drones are coming into Leningrad region from NATO airspace. I mean, you cannot go any more direct than that. Next is, I don't know, man, what is next? Lithuanian Air Force, if they have an Air Force to take off and bomb St. Petersburg or what? I mean, they are complicit in the war. You know, and there were many instances. Remember when drones were, because dozens and dozens of drones are launched from these areas, right, and using airspace of these NATO member states. During the recent waves of attacks, almost every day there were reports about this Ukrainian drone crashing in Lithuania, Ukrainian drone crashing in Latvia, in Estonia, in Finland, right, due to some mechanical issues. Out of this, I don't know, 100 drones that they launch, quite a few were just freaking crashing in these republics. And they were acknowledging, they openly acknowledged that yes, this happened, drones crashed. You can read it. I mean, you can check. This is not something of speculation. This is factual reality, right? These countries, these NATO member states, are complicit in a war. And also, continuation of the question: are these drones hitting their targets? Are they being shut down? Are civilians being killed in these drone attacks? Of course, civilians being killed, and there are civilians being injured, and infrastructure, civilian infrastructure was targeted on numerous. I mean, every time these attacks are orchestrated. I cannot give you exact number of civilian casualties in regards to recent waves of attacks, but there were casualties. And let's see, maybe right now, today, another dozen of drones were intercepted over the Leningrad region. Russian Defense Ministry does not share information about drones that actually reach and struck the target that they were attacking. Russian Defense Ministry shares information about number of drones that were intercepted. It does not mean that this was only drones that were launched. This means that, well, 60 drones were intercepted, but how many drones bypass air defenses is not reported. That's how it's done. And if there is any reports about damage, usually language of media and language of officials are that drone fragments fail, fragments of intercepted drones fail and they cause some damage. This is, I don't know why they choose to use this type of language, because damage in many cases is so horrific that to say that, I mean, fragments fail and cause this is just really too much. But this is the language they use, right? And this is language they choose to communicate with the people, and it is what it is. But unfortunately, every time they attack her, their civilian infrastructure is damaged there, and unfortunately, there are casualties on regular basis. And on Mondays or Tuesdays, Radion Miroshnik, Russian high-ranking diplomat, shares information, statistical information about casualties among Russian civilians killed during the previous week. And past week, for example, Radion Miroshnik reported that 24 Russian civilians were killed and 170, I believe, around 170 wounded. That's a past week. About this week, Radion Miroshnik will share with public information either on Monday, either tomorrow or day after. And I'm always sharing in my updates this information whenever available. So unfortunately, there are casualties on a regular basis. Atomic Ray is commenting, you have family members in the war, Levan? Yes, I mean, my relatives are participating in a special military operation. Many relatives, actually. And one of the relatives almost died. He survived miraculously. He was wounded in her head. He was in DRG, by the way, right? You know, the DRGs you always hear, this sabotage and recognition groups. And he was a commander of the DRG unit. And they went deep into enemy-controlled territory. They entered the gunfight with a much bigger unit, by the way, and they caused some serious damage to the enemy. But my relative was wounded in that fight. he was saved. He was saved, and he's alive. He survived, by the way, and a bullet still in his head. It was some miracle. When we went to hospital, by the way, he was wounded in the leg too with shrapnels. I mean, you can imagine the grenades are blowing up everywhere and stuff. And but he was wounded in the head with the bullet, and bullet stuck in her skull. And the doctors decided to leave it there. It struck her in such a way that it did not damage brain. It did not. I mean, if you did not know that he was hit in the head, you would never realize. When we went to hospital, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was trying to understand where exactly how bullet hit him, and yeah, I mean, the doctors decided that, you know what, better to leave this bullet undisturbed. After some time, bullet body itself will create some defensive stuff around the bullet, right? And you know, that way probably is not probably. I mean, doctors decided so. That way is better for him. Although he have to now carry with him always the paperwork, because you can imagine every time you go through detectors in an airport or anywhere, it's gonna be screened because you have metal in your head, right? So he survived, man. He survived. He's a veteran of Chechen War. He was mobilized. He went as a mobilized reservist, and because of his experience, he was appointed as a commander of the military intelligence unit that was operating. And after he left hospital, he tried to go back to army, and they said no, enough. That's one story. I have other relatives, by the way. Some relatives are in special military operations since the beginning of the special military operations. So, and I think here in Russia, everybody, especially, I mean, I think everybody here in Russia have relatives, family members or their close relatives that are participating in a special military operation. Especially high number of mobilization is in Northern Caucasus region. And I have many relatives in Northern Caucasus region, right? In North Ossetia, Alania, to be more precise. Although a relative that I was just talking about, he is a Siberian, by the way, right? Commander of the DRG unit. He is from Siberia. And Siberians are tough guys, man. They are built different, telling you. And there was a super chat, right? Oh. Dear friends, right now, let me highlight that there was a gift of premium subscription from Viper to member of our community. Thank you very much, Viper, for a gift to a member of our community. That's a $5 donation to the project. And also, dear friends, there was a dear friends, there was a from Atomic Ray. Thank you very much, Atomic Ray, for 5 subscriptions, premium subscriptions, sir, to members of our community. That's a gift. That's a $25 donation to this project. Thank you very much, Atomic Ray. And comment from Atomic Ray is money is short these days, but take this, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your generous support. Thank you. And And there was a super chat from Scooby also. Let me highlight this super chat, dear friends. Oh, no, I already highlight this. That's super chat from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for another super chat and to the donation. Scooby is commenting, tell Nisha to look at the population projection of India and China. India will not be subordinate to them. Maybe the Western, through if they don't control their information space. So you see, Nidish, Scooby is not arguing really. He is also saying that there is no way India going to be subordinate to China. I agree with that. I don't think India is going to be subordinate to anybody, really. That's it. And when it comes to Western world, yes, India will have to, I think, be careful with the West, man. Western ruling class, if they know anything, they know how to infiltrate society, how to infiltrate state institutions, or how to infiltrate countries, and how to manipulate. They are very good at it, unfortunately. Yes, every country should be careful in this regard. I mean, not just India, but literally every country, man. Russia, China, India, I don't know, Indonesia, every country, right? Because Western ruling class knows how to manipulate, how to infiltrate, and how to manipulate. That's how they dominate over the world for past 300 to 500 years. Not just because of the force that they had, literally military force that they had and used in the past centuries, but also due to this knowledge and tools that they created to infiltrate societies and the countries and to manipulate. That's for sure. Thank you very much, Scooby, for a super chat. And dear friends, I guess this is it. It's almost 3 hours. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here, dear friends. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and see you tomorrow. Hopefully you liked the conversation. Hopefully this was a good community chat, right? These Sundays live streams are community chat first of all, and this new segment is just secondary. From tomorrow, I have some surprises. I'm not gonna say nothing, but in the programming from tomorrow, I might make some good changes, positive changes. Hopefully many or all members of our community will like it. We will see, but no announcements because, let's first do it and then talk about it. Thank you very much, dear friends. Have a wonderful day and take care and bye for now.